Hey, what's up everyone? Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye here. Today we're going to review the Sony A6500. Now, if you've seen the channel or seen any of the other videos, I've reviewed the A6000, the A6300. I've actually owned them. So the 6500, it's a bit late at this point, but there is still a lot of things, especially with some announcements that might come soon from Sony, that can make this a very viable camera either right now, it could be an upgrade, easy upgrade from an A6000, or as the price might drop. So let's take a look at the A6500. I'm not gonna really go crazy with like specs or anything like that. It's been out a little bit, but I'm going to just tell you, my thoughts on it, taking with it. I've had it for about a month, thanks to B&H Photo. They sent this out. They didn't pay me for this. They just sponsored this and, gave this for a review. So that way I'm able to share it with you guys. So let's kind of break this down into some categories and we'll go from there. Sony A6500, this is for you. So I wanted to start off with the build and the button layout. And with owning the A6000, which I guess people say kind of feels toy-like, it was a little more plasticky, the A6300 came out and it gave it a beefier grip. And this A6500's got an even deeper build and also has a beefier grip as well. So even I have big hands, I am comfortably able to hold this. So better grip, better everything in regards to that. The one thing people wanted was a flip screen, kind of like the Canon series where it goes out. You get this, you do get a tilt screen. It goes up, it doesn't like go full 180, and it goes down so that way you're able to still see if you're shooting down and everything. So it's pretty good. Not a ton changed going from the A6300 to the 6500 in regards to the build quality. The one thing a lot of people wish that was moved was the record button, that to be somewhere over here. And with the Sony A9 being out, they actually made that change, so who knows what it's going to be like in the future. Now, once again, going back to everything on here, you get two customizable buttons at the front, which you can set to pretty much anything. I think there's 7 or 9 customizable buttons on this entire camera, but you get 3, or mappable ones, sorry. But you get 2 right by your shutter right here, so if you're in different environments and you need to change things really quickly, you have access to those with no problem. But being this E-mount camera and kind of what it's already used to, you have the 2 options. You have the EVF, the electronic viewfinder, with the sensor right here, so that way if you put your eye up to it, it can switch to it, and you have the monitor, that way you could, view things and everything like that. Pretty much besides that, it's the same old build. You get your mic input on the side right here. Some people were a little upset that it didn't have a headphone jack so you can monitor audio. So who knows, maybe on a future body they'll have that. The other thing, it's the typical of the same batteries that they use. Nothing too different. The FW50. Battery life is still kind of an issue in regards to these. They're still not the best. With the A9, they did put out a new battery, but overall, when I had this out in the streets a couple times and I was doing 4K video and everything, it does decently well, but if I had this for long events or for weddings, it's tough. You definitely need multiple batteries. So the battery life still didn't improve a ton, but how about overheating? So I felt that the A6500 actually did better than the A6300 with overheating issues. I've only had it happen to me twice out of this whole month or so that I've actually been really using this camera and putting it through its paces. And the first time I used it, it happened about 15 minutes into doing video, 4K, so it did last a while. And then I had a couple times there was no issue. Then the only other time was when I got about 20 minutes into a video and it overheat and I had to shut it down. But other than that, it really didn't have to. So I think that this is the better between the A6300 and the 6500 in regards to overheating, but it did happen for me. And who knows, maybe we'll see an update on that in the future. What's very appealing about this camera is that it is super fast. The autofocusing is very sharp. It does 11 frames per second on a 24 megapixel sensor. So you can capture a lot. I don't know if I would say it's a sports camera, but you have a little bit more leeway if you definitely need to capture something because it's super fast. The big thing being it's 4D focus and 425 phase detect points, because if I look through the screen, you get a lot of options for something like that. So you have a lot that you can do. It's not 100% coverage, but you could, move around a little bit and everything. The other big thing that came with this camera, besides 5-axis in body stabilization, something that you see in the A7 line, which is a touchscreen. Now, it's not a full capacity touchscreen, it's semi-limited, it doesn't work on the menus or anything, but it will work while photographing. And the cool thing you can do is you can drag, so you can have this up to your eye, and you can drag your point wherever you need it to be. It is a little laggy there, but it's pretty responsive for what it is. So that's definitely an appealing feature, and you can like tap the focus to take a photo if you want to do it that way as well. I do wish it was a full capacity touchscreen. I think the Sony A5000 series actually had a better touchscreen in regards to that, but it's very good that they're including on something like this, and it's just a feature. And like I said, it does look a little weird that you kind of have to like move your finger while you're trying to focus and everything like that to move your points around, but it does work, and it works pretty well. So the appeal about the A6500 in regards to the 5-axis in-body stabilization is that it does 4K video at 30 frames per second, and you can also overcrank with 120 frames per second at 1080p. You can also do 60, etc., etc. So it's a very versatile camera, and the fact that it has a mic input also makes it another video play, and it is extremely well. The autofocusing is definitely one of the top in the entire market. I mean, I kind of like the dual pixel of the Canons better, but I think Sony's a close second right there, and it doesn't fail with that with this camera as well. So the autofocusing is very good, and for video, that's why it's a choice for a lot of people, because Sony isn't necessarily leaving off a lot of tech in regards to how the other brands are. And the other cool part is that this also has S-Log3, which gives you that really cinematic flat video, and that way you can go in and, you know, color grade and do everything that you need from there. Like I was mentioning, the 5-axis in-body definitely was okay. Now, if you're doing extreme movements, it doesn't help a lot, but if you're casually walking or doing a slower movement, it can definitely help compensate for that. For stills, it's pretty darn good. The other thing is, how's the rolling shutter? Now, with the A6300, when I vlogged with that last year, a lot of people said, wow, that rolling shutter is bad, and it was. And it doesn't improve a ton in this, so that way when you're moving, you see like kind of jelloing as you're going on, and that's just because how the way the cameras are built, they don't have global shutters, and so that really wasn't improved a lot. So if you need something like that, I don't know if it's best for you, but if you have it on a gimbal, if you have it on something where you're not moving a ton, it's gonna be fine, and you're not gonna have to really worry about rolling shutter, but there is some. In regards to stills, I took it out on the street. I had the 24-70 G Master and the 55 Zeiss 1.8, and that combos are fantastic. Now, the 24-70 is obviously a little heavy for that because of the size of the lens compared to the smaller size of the body, but I'll tell you what, the image quality that comes out of the A6500 is spot on. It's a great video camera, it's a great stills camera, so you're getting the best of both worlds, and for what, $1,400, you better get both, and you do, and it really does deliver. If you need to whip up something to do something in street, it could definitely be something good and accurate for that with those phase detect autofocusing points. One of the last things I'll cover is the menu system, and it's that Sony menu system. And once again, you can't touch screen to navigate it. You got to roll the wheel and hit over and everything, and it's just pretty convoluted. But once you kind of learn how the Sony menu systems work, you'll be able to go from there. But there's more options like the steady shot and everything, and you just got to dive a little bit more. I wish they kind of condensed things a little bit. There are some unnecessary settings, but the menu system, it's your typical Sony system. Not much else to say. So my final thoughts on the Sony A6500 and who it's for. It's really for anyone who wants to take good stills and video. That's why a lot of people like the series of camera. And apparently this has become one of the most popular vlogging cameras. Even though you can't see it yourself in a screen or anything, you kind of set it to the middle autofocusing point, and you just keep yourself towards the middle with a wide angle lens, and that's really been a thing. I mean, even Casey Neistat switched to Sony as well for something like this. So if you want to vlog, I guess it could be a good choice if you want to stay in the Sony game. Still, I prefer the Canon 80D because I like the focus and that I can see myself, but it's definitely a form factor feel as well. But if you're into video, if you want a good B cam, and some people even use this as an A camera, this is definitely a good play for you. $1,400 isn't a bad deal for something like this because of what it offers, especially being able to do 4K and all the kind of different, high frame rates for high definition video at 1080 is phenomenal. 5-axis in-body stabilization, as I said, does a decent job. If you want to do more serious movements, I would get actually something serious, like some kind of gimbal, some kind of Ronin or something, to really compensate for this and not rely on this electronically or anything. But going from there, buy a couple batteries, snag a mic, and I think that this would be a good option for a lot of people. If you have any questions or comments about the A6500, I do enjoy it. I don't know if I'd switch to something like this because I do want that articulating screen if I want to have something, but the A6500, if I had a choice between all three, A6000, 6300, 6500, I would of course take this. If you want to hear me also break down more which you should buy, I'll leave a link down below, as I've covered that a lot and a lot of people have responded to that. Any questions, let me know about this. Once again, thanks to B&H Photo for sending this out for review. Really appreciate it, and it really helps us, I can help educate you guys more about the gear and give you my input on something like this. Sony A6500, phenomenal camera. Came very soon after the A6300, so hopefully they wait a little bit, but A6500, pretty good camera, $1,400 bucks. Not that bad.